Excellent. So welcome, Mindy. Thank you so much for being on my call today and having the opportunity to interview you, especially with your massive wealth of knowledge when it comes to not only helping people write books, but having written 9 books yourself. So I'm very excited to be able to take people through this process and enlighten them as such as to what it takes to write a book. So, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time. I know we've had some interesting technical challenges, and we are here today and making it happen anyway. So it's all about embracing change. So, I think the big question, which a lot of people have spoken about, is the whole coronavirus and time out right now. But before I go into that, I want to do, if you could just give us maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute on, who you are, the big projects you're working on, and what's exciting you right now.
Yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, more than okay. So I'm best known as founder of The Book Midwife, which is a wonderful brand. It's a metaphor. I'm not a real midwife. So people have, just in case. But, that book people have inside them, sometimes they need help pulling it out. And holding their hand, and you get the idea. So I run The Book Midwife with a really wonderful team. I've got a publishing company called Panoma Press, which is amazing, and many of the Book Midwife clients end up publishing with us, and we publish and distribute and market those books globally, and it's very, very rewarding. And I also run Real Thought Leaders, and Real Thought Leaders is another brand, nothing to do, well, I say nothing to do with books. You need a good thought leading book at the heart of a good thought leadership strategy. So that's what they have in common, but it's more about doing all the right things so that you're perceived as a thought leader in your space. Bone of contention, the phrase thought leader. So I also use the phrase thoughtful leader, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned quite a few different topics then, and in today's space, being a CEO of so many different companies and having to pivot so many different things because of the online process that we have right now and the global pandemic, how has that impacted somebody like yourself?
Well, I was traveling quite a lot, and because I do a lot of training and speaking around the world, I was training and speaking on actual stages, physical stages, and conference rooms. And now everything's virtual, as it is probably for everybody watching us. The publishing company hasn't really experienced any change at all. We run a virtual team, so we were ahead of most, thank goodness, having done this for 15 years in a completely virtual way. I mean, completely, we have a conference call every Monday, we have email, we have project management software, and we just get on with it. And we've published hundreds and hundreds of books in that way. So it hasn't changed things that much, but a lot of people were nervous about the pandemic and the uncertainty, and understandably so. So we have come up with a few new services, things that I hadn't done for a while, and a unique way of looking at book coaching, which is really working. But yeah, I had to pivot, as you say, I had to move quite fast, but it's paying off. So, I'm really happy with the way things are going. I feel absolutely gutted for people who've lost loved ones and who are nervous about their health, their income, or both. And, my heart goes out to them. And if somebody is prepared to write their book, that's where I can get involved and do something practical.
Excellent. So on that note specifically, I've mentioned to you prior to this interview that I've spoken to a few people about the whole concept of, is now the right time? Should we be embracing it? What does it encompass to write a book? So there's so many questions that come out, but I think the first one is, now the right time for people to be thinking about writing a book?
So it's really irrelevant what's going on now. If somebody has the expertise and the desire to write their book, it's the same as before. The only thing is, some people have more time. So the desire and the expertise is one thing, but carving out the time is another. The only thing I would say is I've had quite a few conversations with people who are nervous about their income or lack thereof. And I would say be very careful with all of your investments. And I consider writing a book an investment in your brand and in your business. If we're talking, that kind of book, expertise, how to experience book. Don't get yourself into financial difficulties or make things worse at this time. But if you have some savings, or if you're still working and everything else around you has slowed, it's even better. We've lost commuting time, and I've seen a lot of people wake up to this fact that they have the extra time. It's a question of whether their desire is strong enough, and then we handle the rest.
So there are different reasons for writing books. I know some people, are kind of just inside. They have this burning desire to just get their name on a cover and have something physical that they can hold and say, hey, it's one of those tick boxes that I've achieved this in life. I've written a book. But there are also a lot of people out there who want to write a book because they want to either help somebody, they want to inspire people, they want to make a change, or they want to use it as part of their business strategy. Where does one start?
Well, I only really know about business books and personal development books, and that includes health and wellness, the whole wheel of life. I have written one novel, but I don't know too much about the mechanics of writing a novel. I made a lot of mistakes, and it took me 10 years, so I wouldn't follow my advice for fiction. Get that out of the way. No, we mostly work with entrepreneurs and business leaders, people of a professional nature who want to have a book to do several things. One, yes, bucket list, tick box. It's a real achievement to have written a full-length book, have it in print, and be proud of it. So that's good enough. But many people in business also want to have a credibility builder. So they want to be able to take that book and open a door with it. Now, what door they open, we don't know, but they could open a door to an interview and get a new job, as we've seen with several of our clients. Speaking gigs, even virtual ones, you get more credibility if you're a published author of a good book, not just any old thing. And
that's a good point there.
Right? You can raise your fee. You can get more clients. You can, it just gives people confidence that you know what you're talking about. And of course, it's an income stream as well. So if you are smart, and we have lots and lots of ways to get ROI from the book, as we're talking about later, it's pretty much unlimited. So there's people who get that, and there's people who don't really understand that. And, I'm happy to explain it in any other way if you need me to.
Absolutely. And I think we'll definitely delve into that detail. But so let's stay on whether it be personal development, entrepreneurs, writing books. Again, where do you start? So for me, I'm sitting there, and a lot of people I've spoken to, and it's, well, I've got to get the ideas on paper. Then there's, I've got to find a publisher and then get the ideas. I've got to get guidance, or I have to have an idea first, or maybe I should just get an app and I just record stuff on a daily basis, and then eventually I'll have enough stuff. And everybody seems to have a slightly different kind of spin on what they think it takes to write a book. What is the best way to even get started?
Okay, I didn't mean to show anything on my face, but one of those ideas is not a good one.
But that's a good thing. But this is the whole idea of asking these questions, is helping people avoid the mistakes that are commonly made, or myths about writing a book.
Well, the thing is, Mac, it's just my opinion. Everything that I say in this interview and everywhere I go, it's just going to be my opinion. However, that opinion is based on 18 years of experience, bringing 1,000 books to the market, and trial and error. But where we've got to right now, we've won almost 20 awards, and I kind of know what I'm talking about. So, there's that ego boost out of the way.
Love that. But that's why I'm interviewing you, and not somebody who's written one book and maybe had a bit of luck or not.
Right. Okay. Thank you. To answer the question, right. In total, I always have a laugh because, why not? I do laugh at people who get lots and lots of advice from different people and then don't implement any. And I'm not just talking books, right. Let me
Right.
continue to get ready, like, okay, good luck. Call me when you are ready, which is never. Yeah. The thing is, that's fine. I feel bad because we're conditioned to think that other people know more than we do. Now, other people may know more than we do about the mechanics of planning and writing and publishing a book. I know a lot about it. But we also, not we, I'm not including me and you in this, other people disempower themselves. They give their power away to others looking for validation on their content. And this is a huge, huge distinction, which I would love for our viewers to understand. You are the subject matter expert when it comes to your story, your experience, your content, your insights, your messages, and your objectives with that book. You are the expert. And it's quite a big thing to claim all of that, isn't it?
It is, especially if people have some form of limiting beliefs that, why me? Should I write the book? All those questions which we get in personal development all the time.
Mm-hmm, right.
So there's more to than just writing a book here. There's the whole. I feel like I've opened a can of worms, but
good one. Good can of
worms. so I guess that's where the whole coaching part comes into what you do as well. Yes.
Yeah, I want to answer your other question though, because I can literally talk for hours on this. I want to make sure that I answer the question, where do you start? I would say start by asking yourself, do you have enough confidence even to explore this? And I'm going to talk about lots of ways to do it better, faster, get a better result, be happier with the result, etc. But first you have to come with the right intention and a decent amount of confidence. Because if somebody is so underconfident that they're doubting themselves every step of the way, it's going to be hard work for them and us, the coaches. I would say that's the first thing. And then you said about having an idea. You do have to have some kind of idea, not the kind of detail that most people think. So we have a bit of a challenge here because the book Midwife is a great brand and is a great, you can picture it, right? The midwife usually comes in at the very end after you've conceived and carried the baby for 9 months, and then it's like the last bit. And so people think they have to do a lot or even write the first draft and then come to us, and that's not true. We have a fertility clinic service, which is the most important one. Like, there's very few midwives who are there at conception, but in this case we are. Sorry, Outlook was meant to be off, and just bear with me 2 seconds. I kill this thing. Okay, so I don't want to tell somebody what their idea should be. However, there's a lot of things that have to happen at the beginning with that idea. So the scope of it, right? How much to talk about or how to scope it, the framework, the structure, the format, the outline, the balance of the story to the teaching, the complete length of the finished book. There's so many things that need a decision. And that's where I can help and my team can help. So my best advice is, before you do any writing or even any planning, and for goodness sakes, don't start by picking a title. That's completely the wrong thing to do. Before you do anything.
You just took one of my questions right out there.
No, the title will present itself at the right time. And we've helped develop and create many titles. I'm so proud of the books that we've done. I mean, panomapress.com, if nothing else, even if people decide not to write their book, they should look at Panoma Press for the excellent books that we have on the website, and Amazon and thousands of other stores. So to talk to somebody early, my favorite client is the one who is willing to work with me early, where they're not even sure what their ideas are. They so want to have a book, and I know they have content, and we pull it out just like a good midwife.
So another question has just sprung to mind as such. So you've just mentioned coming to you very early.
Uh-huh.
How painful can it be if somebody's come to you where they've already got the concept in their mind and they think, I'm almost there? Because
The
I'm
concept is fine. They can come with a concept. What I'm saying, Mac, is not to go and outline the whole thing and start writing and think that you have to have done a draft or more than one draft. Or that's kind of pointless. That's because then you're going to come and first of all, we don't look at that. That's the one service we won't do. We won't look at something that's done and say, oh, you really should change this, add that, delete that, move that, expand that. It's painful. Thank you for using that word. And we don't want to do it, and they don't want to hear it. So
well,
I was like,
that's exactly the part that I was kind of alluding to. Is if I could imagine if I was writing a book and I then came to somebody like yourself and then found out firstly I've maybe done it all wrong, or taken the wrong approach, or I haven't got the right framework, or and I'm as you said, some people may start with a title, and I even in my younger years I used to think, oh, I've got the perfect strapline for a book, and then they get attached to that and emotionally attached to that title, thinking, well, and then sometimes the content and the title don't quite follow through. But at the same time, how important is a title when it comes to, because I've heard of people writing a book, goes out, nobody's interested, and then it gets renamed and then all of a sudden goes viral.
Yep. So that's definitely the case for some books. The title is a marketing tool.
Okay.
All the title needs to do is get someone's interest. That is it. The title is a 3-second marketing tool. In fact, probably 1 second, because the best titles are one word, in my opinion. All right, let's just assume that everything is my opinion here today.
Absolutely.
So one thing that we've seen is where someone gets their blinkers on, or blinders for the US folks, you then can't see all the great ideas that might be over here. You can't see anything else. You get attached to it, like you said, and there could be something better. Also, the thing that really gets me is, me having touched 1,000 manuscripts and books. I've got the blink factor, Malcolm Gladwell's blink. I just within a split second, I know if that title is going to earn that book sales or cost that book sales. I know if that is going to help or hurt that book. So it's best if we don't have a title, because we can craft it together, and I can do that with the author in about 10-15 minutes. Big, bold statement.
Wow, that is very bold. I was going to expect maybe weeks on that one, or
no. There are techniques which I've learned over the years. There are things I've learned from producing so many books and also seeing how they do in the market. And this is why you do bring in experts who have a blink factor. I love being coached by and working with experts in other areas. I've always had voice tutors and personal trainers and business coaches and people who have the expertise that I don't, because they've earned those stripes, and they're there to save me time, effort, and money. And that's what we do with the book. We save people time, effort, and money by helping them write a better book and do it faster and not make mistakes.
So again, you're going straight into my next question of, and I'm loving this, is the cost. Now, let me frame that properly.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned from life experience that when you try and do things your own way without the exact thing that you just mentioned now, without the expert or the mentor or the coach who has done it before and that can see the pitfalls, that can guide the way, it ends up, even though it seems like a cheaper option in the beginning, because you think, oh, well, I'll do that part and I'll do that part and I'll just take the finishing product, that not only, time is, what value do we put on that?
Mm-hmm.
But then the cost itself, in a lot of cases, is exponentially more than what it would have been had you gone to a professional in the first place.
Right. So this series is called Life Hacks with Mac, and this is the best hack that you could do, is tap into someone's expertise, not just me, but all of Mac's guests. So let me give a plug for the series, because this is why we're here. We have to pay it forward. All the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears. We're delighted to save someone else that journey. Right. Now the purpose of
Thank you.
saving time, you are welcome. So somebody came to us a few years ago, and they'd already written their book, and they'd spent 3.5 years doing it, and it would have come out to 700 pages. And I said, no, basically. And then they said, oh, like, what do I need to do? I said, shorten it. Oh, but no, they were attached to it, like we were talking about before. And I said, look, you could start over and have the whole thing done in 3 months. How's that? You've already done like your practice run. And they said no. And then 2 months.
So hold on, from 3 years to how many months?
3 months. And they came back, and we did their best book in 3 months. And they just used, they luckily were able to reframe the experience of working on the big tome and considering it like a practice run.
So they could take the knock on the chin and move on.
Start over, and it wasn't starting from scratch, because they'd already thought through a few things. But even someone who hasn't written anything, we can get any book done in 3 months to a great standard with our process and half the number of hours that the average author spends.
Yeah, I think of a. This is why I wanted to have this conversation, because when I think of writing a book, and I know of a lot of authors who, the story goes on how it took them years to write this book, and then they passed away, and then the book became viral, and they never got to see the joys. And I'm sitting there going, it could take forever. So, I guess you've just answered my next question of is why have some people got the ability to write, like yourself, 9 books, when other people take a lifetime to just do that one?
Yeah, well, I once went to a conference that I think many of our colleagues were at, because there were hundreds of people there, and I knew a lot of them. But I won't name names, except for the person on the stage, who was Jeffrey Archer. And I'll never forget, because I was about in the 3rd row, and he was pacing the stage. This is what he does: pace, 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 talk, 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 simultaneously, of course. And he ended up like right in my eye line when he said this phrase, and he said, my last book, I did 18 drafts. And he almost looked right at me, and in my head I was thinking, well, you stupid man. I mean, so why do you, okay, he's Jeffrey Archer, he's independently wealthy, I don't know, he was allowed to write and publish books while he was in prison, which I have my own ideas about, but he is able to do that. But the average person, if they did 18 drafts, first of all, your ideas change, your style might change, the environment, the world might change, and basically you're missing out on that window of opportunity. And I would say 18 drafts gives you lots and lots of time to develop more and more self-doubt. Like the more you do, the less confident you're going to be. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, most people can't handle more than 2 or 3 no's, never mind or failure attempts.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's my best advice, and we swear by this. Our model is based on this, is to do it in a very methodical way, to have a brilliant, comprehensive plan that is probably more robust than anything the author would do on their own, to get help with that, so they know what's going to be in, what's going to be left out, what's going to be the style, the tone, everything I was talking about before. And to be able to write 3 drafts quickly, they can do it in 3 months. Part-time, very part-time. So if they take 3 months to do one of our programs.
So this is not taking time off and hiding behind a desk for 3 months.
Well, they have to. So if they do our 3-month program, if they work with me privately or one of my coaches, or on a program where we extend it to 3 months, they put in 8 hours a week, which is 4 2-hour blocks. Now, if someone's not willing to do that, they don't deserve to have a book, in my opinion.
There's got to be that commitment.
Well, the thing is, like you said before, people want the shortcut, they want the hack. This is a hack. 8 hours times 12 weeks is less than 100 hours total. Most people spend 200 hours or more. So you're cutting the overall number of hours by 50%. At the moment, we're doing a very bold thing. We've created an 8-week program instead of 12. And yes, we've shaved off a third of the time. And so it requires 12 hours in a week, 6 2-hour blocks. But even then, we have 23 people going through the program at the moment. And the feedback overwhelmingly is, yes, if this is a priority, I make sure I put 12 hours out of the 168 hours a week that we're all given, just 12 into my book, and to have it in 8 weeks. And we have people who finish their first draft already 6 weeks in, absolutely brilliant.
That's mad, absolutely mad. So I've got to take a second just to take this all in. Because but it massively changes what you're able to accomplish, because if you can do that in 8 or 12,
right?
And a lot of entrepreneurs work on different projects, and they flip businesses, and they property and all kinds of things. Yeah. And in today's day and age, people will have businesses for a year, 2 years, 3 years, which means they could have cycles of books coming out, book after book after book. Right. Now, that leads me to my next question, which you hear all the time of people that have written a book, they spent a lot of money, they've also ordered the first 100, 500, 1,000 books, which they then personally go and maybe use as business cards, but a lot of the time for their own ego, go and hand out just so that they know people have the book. And then that may not go anywhere from that point onwards.
Yeah.
So I know you speak about having a strategy and a process, but you mentioned to me that there are different ways that people can generate income off the back of a book, not just the sales of the book. Is that right?
Yeah, that is. I said I would deliver 5, I think. So let me see if I can rattle them off quickly. So people have to accept that nowadays when I say speaking, I'm talking about speaking virtually as well, or instead. So, so there's 3 ways you can earn money with the book when you're speaking. One, you can do a deal, and you can give people or sell people the book or sell it at full price, but you can have a strategy to sell that book into places where you could get speaking engagements, or you can use it as the business card to get the speaking engagement. So that's a way to earn money, not directly, but indirectly. So you're going to get a gig.
Okay.
Right? Fair enough, right? Then when you're doing that gig, if you're smart, you'll do a deal with the organizer, and every participant gets a copy of the book. We've done a few recently with the PDF, which is not ideal. It's not as much of a credibility builder, but that's, people didn't want to go to the post office or whatever. So, you can do that. And when things get back to normal or more physical events, people can have a table with books at the back or at the front, or, and you can get extra income, and it just rounds off your session or your keynote, whatever you're doing, because people want to take away the message, and they get to reinforce that if they have your book. So that's another way. And then obviously some people will read that book. They take that book home, or they read the PDF. And
I like the fact that you said that.
Right? Oh my goodness, this Mac guy, he really knows what he's talking about. I must work with him. And guess what? They pick up the phone or they email, and you get a client. So that's 3 ways that are just to do with speaking or delivering your content in a session, and using the book as well, before, during, and after. So you can also have a strategy that doesn't involve speaking. You can have a strategy I have many clients who've written books on sales, marketing, and leadership, and they've sold books to marketing directors, HR directors, CEOs, general managers, where they want a copy of the book for everyone in the team. And that can be done at any time. That can even be done now. We can get those books sent out from warehouses, Amazon, and elsewhere. So, it shouldn't need to be a problem.
a question on that, because of this massive change that we've all had, and doing interviews on platforms like Zoom and various others,
Yeah.
the digital version of a book.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on that? So, as an example, if somebody is a speaker or a coach or whatever they are, or a business, an entrepreneur, and they want to be able to, they're doing a Zoom call with 150, 200 people on there, and they want to be able to give people a link to, say, a Kindle book. Is that a good strategy, a bad strategy? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've done that with a few of our authors. It's not quite the same. First of all, the e-version is a version. So thank you for recognizing it for what it is. It is simply the version of a real book. So, I get people all the time, well, maybe I should write an ebook instead. I said, what do you mean? And what they're talking about is putting, 17 pages into something, calling it an ebook. I said, no, that's a special report. That is not a book of any kind. Yep. But, that's...
Can you define the length of what constitutes a book?
So I can only talk about Panoma Press and our theoretical minimum, because we have made exceptions maybe 3 times in 18 years. So 20,000 words minimum.
Okay.
That will come out to 100, 110, 120 pages. A skinny book of any size. We don't know exactly the format, but ideally in proportion. Less than 20,000 words, and it's like a pamphlet. So anyway, going back to the situation where you're running a Zoom. No, I don't think people really want to be reading that much online or on a screen. Like you said, spending all this time looking at the screen. And so people still appreciate that paperback book and hardback, but paperback is a lot more affordable, cheaper to ship, etc. So we're seeing the paperback sales bounce back probably faster than the ebook sales. Because at the beginning of this year, it was all, like, oh, what's going to happen? And all sales took a nosedive. But I'm seeing, and this is not surprising to me, because people, they want a how-to book in its physical form. They want to be able to put the pages down, highlight with a yellow pen, and not have to deal with.
It's mine, and I want to write in it and personalize my notes and my thoughts. Yeah, absolutely.
So, we have, I think I only gave you 4 ways to make money with the book. Let me just think of another off the top of my head. The best one of all is impressing somebody who you want to partner with. Now, I did this with my 4th book, 24 Karat Bold. Oh, I said, I promised to put the...
yes, you did.
I did. All I had to do was mention one of my books. Right. The book on the right is 24 Karat Bold. It is showing up on the right for you, yeah?
Yes, it is.
There's the Book Midwife logo, partially hidden by my shoulder. So so that book has done so many great things for me, but one of the best things it did was impress somebody I wanted to partner with, and it ended up in a 4.5-year partnership that netted them a lot of money and probably netted me $500,000. So I think it was worth it to hand them a book.
Absolutely. And the return on investment on that is massive.
Yeah. And these things are possible if you think about it in advance and you create the kind of book that's going to get that kind of result. You don't leave it to chance. You don't write it and then think about the strategy. I mean, a lot of people don't understand they can get help early on, right at the beginning. And that's why I never mind doing these interviews. And, it's my pleasure to educate people and save them time and hassle and headache.
You've given me so many things to think about already. And I love the fact that the time factor has been condensed massively, which means people can achieve just so much more, especially those entrepreneurs who may be involved in 2 or 3 different businesses, or are working on a strategy to roll out something, following on. And your facial expression there tells me there's something else that you've got.
No, I was just making sure that I moved my chair and then the logo could be seen, because we're very proud of this logo. Sorry about that, Mac.
No, it's all good. It's all good. My brain is bouncing all over the place, but it's exciting. So I know one of the other things you mentioned as well is how entrepreneurs should publish their books, with regards to strategy, or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so first of all, just a reminder that we're talking about thought leading books, books to position people as real thought leaders, no
Absolutely.
cheating. So this is, the book has to be a proper book. It has to have that gravitas. And only the market can decide. You can't say, or this is a thought leading book, right? So the market will decide, right? We're talking about that kind of book. It needs to be published in the right way. I see a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people who think that there's only traditional publishing and self-publishing. Now, I am not a big fan of self-publishing. When I say self-publishing, I mean doing it yourself, hence the word. The issue is you don't know what you're doing if you're not a publisher. You can make mistakes, and people do. So, even somebody in our community, and he won't be named, but he came rushing up to me, here's a copy of my book, and he'd self-published it. And I went, oh, thank you. And I could already see on the cover that it just wasn't right. I could see so many problems. And he was like, oh, I'd love your thoughts. And I was thinking, no, you wouldn't. But I took that book away, and I started jotting down all the things that I saw that were wrong with it, of course, in my opinion. And I thought, I can't. But I sent him a message. I said, well, I've found about 41 things. I said, do you want to have that chat? He never came back to me.
And this is where, when I alluded to this earlier about that whole, and you mentioned about you've got to be ready to take all that on board, and understand that you are going to be open to critique, but you've got to be fairly confident in, and when you mentioned thought leader as an example, there's a lot of people who have an opinion, not necessarily a thought leader, but an opinion. It's putting that content into the right process, and being willing to be able to take that criticism. And I just see, the process that you follow, and the short period of time, removing a lot of heartache and pain. I mean, you've mentioned that guy that's, took 3 years. I know people that have been thinking about it, and I'm in my 40s. I know people that have been thinking about it since I left school, and they still talk about one day writing a book. And no time like the present.
So I have a couple of points on that, as you might expect. So the thing is, you can get help early on. So the word criticism isn't one that I can really relate to, because if you're getting coaching, you're not making mistakes that then need to be criticized. You're getting guidance and direction and course correction. So that is, I won't say in my opinion again, I think it's better than doing it and then getting input. And we won't do that anyway, as I said. But you see this book here at the top, Cooking Up Success.
I like the title.
I'm glad you can see it. That book, I'm sure she won't mind, because I'm giving her some visibility here. It's a brilliant book about managing your career through change. It's a book that everybody should be reading right now, today. And the Kindle is $1.99, $2.99 if it's euros or dollars. I mean, this is a great book, but she had brought it out first in an ebook format that she wasn't happy with. It wasn't doing well. I think it had a different title. Everything that was wrong with it. And she said, look, can we republish? I said, no, I really don't like republishing books. However, it had hardly sold any. So it wasn't really like republishing. It was like brand new.
But exactly. Publishing, regardless of the time that it's been out, if nobody's seen it, it's...
Right. So,
yeah.
But I'm just saying, so we fixed that. We published it properly. Panoma is the publisher for that. The book is available globally. We've sold loads of different formats of ebook, not just Kindle. We've sold the book. It's available in, Waterstones, Smiths, Blackwell's, Foyles, all the independents, Barnes and Noble, all over the world, streaming sites, libraries, universities. This is not a self-publishing venture. This is proper publishing. And there's a book that we're just bringing out. I can't give you the name, but we're republishing that as well. The author made mistakes, and their publishing partner made mistakes, and they took it off off sale, and we're republishing that book very shortly. And and that takes guts to say, I made a mistake. I've already spent money. Okay, now I'm going to spend more money. But is it worth it? And in fact, spend isn't the right word, is it? That word is supposed to be.
Well, you've clearly shown the invest.
Invest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a bit too long, but that is why we really believe real thought leaders and every entrepreneur should publish professionally with an independent publisher, with the little guys like us, Panoma Press. We're small. We bring out 20 to 25 books a year. That's it. And we really give each one a good launch. And, we do things like social media for the life of the book. We have books that are 14 years old that we're still promoting. Nobody does that except us, I don't think.
I mean, just, you hit on that, the investment versus the cost of the book.
Yeah.
And I look at the personal development space, and a lot of people go to a lot of free seminars, and they go to a lot of they want to self-help. That self-help is, for me, is misinterpreted massively, because in order to self-help, you need outside perspective. But if it's just yourself trying to help yourself when you've never had the experience or the outside knowledge of what that journey is about, you're setting yourself up for failure, and that's not really helping yourself
or others.
Or others. And the cost is, for somebody who has had a big dream, big vision, and they really believe this book is going to change their lives, to then take potential shortcuts and kill that, and just have that massive, I guess, sense of failure as opposed to accomplishment, because they've done all the right things. They just didn't tick all the right boxes with process that somebody with expert eyes like yourself and expert guidance could have shortcuts down to 3 months, remove the pain. And that's something we can all swallow, I think. If you go out and you invest 3 months and it doesn't work, it's like, okay. But 3 years of self-help, going out, self-publishing, and then having a book that's on the shelf that doesn't go any further, doesn't make the right impact, doesn't have that right traction, and you can't use it has the opposite effect. I mean, that could kill somebody's career, really. Potentially.
I know. I've seen people who are trying to boost their reputation with a book, and they're actually hurting it. I've met people at events where they said, I'm so embarrassed. Can I get my book off Amazon? The answer is no. You can't force a retailer who has bought your book or any product. Think about it. If you sell jams and your local deli buys some jars of jam, you can't then say, oh, actually, unless there's something wrong with them, they say, get out of here. I bought these. I'm going to resell them. Yep. So think again. We can have a chat. I mean, one of my favorite things, as if people haven't noticed, is having a chat. That's my favorite thing in the world. And I am always happy to have a chat with somebody if they don't understand or they want to find out more, explore the options. We always have special promotions going on, and like the $1.99 books, including Cooking Up Success. Oh, by the way, that website, you can put it on the links, but it's panomapress.com/deals. It's our deals. And it's our permanent deals page. But for the month of May, we have 45 books available for £1.99 each. It's worth looking at that.
That's a massive investment.
Sure. You know what? I love chatting, and I love being creative, and I love helping people to save time and effort and money and heartache, like you said.
I liked one of the, you mentioned to me prior to this interview that you don't follow the herd method online, where there's a massive funnel and we're going to close you and you're going to, click here, spend your money, and now you're in. And you actually take time to consider the person, the content, what they're trying to achieve. You actually take that time to really invest to make sure that it's right for both your company as well as for the individual. so that you can take that forward. I mean, that's very different to the, I guess, mainstream processes now.
Well, the thing is, there's several reasons for that. One is right here above my head. The thoughtful leader methodology or philosophy is to consider. So thank you so much for using one of our words without even knowing, to consider things more carefully. I mean, we talk about considering other people, considering their feelings, considering what you put out into the world. And I've taken a lot of time to consider what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. This is what a thoughtful leader does. And, you know, unapologetically going out there and saying, I'm old school. I started work in the 1980s, and I remember those wonderful days of having to look things up and phone people with a landline, and there was no internet. And you know what? It was very rewarding. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't look for hacks. I'm always very conscious when, you know, I'm on someone else's podcast, you know, we need to save time and effort in certain areas, but you cannot shortcut a relationship. You cannot shortcut a thoughtful decision. You cannot shortcut an important decision. And I think writing a book where you're going to spend 5 or 10K of your money, we can do it for less, of course, or you're going to spend 3 months of your life, that's an important decision. And so, you know, we're not into this quick, cheap and nasty. I won't do it. Thank you for recognizing that.
So I love the way you just finished that off, because I want to differentiate and make it very clear that it's not you mentioned 3 months, and yes, that's quick, but it's not cheap and nasty.
Right.
It's not a plaster. It's a proper solution. And for me, that is a massive hack, because if I can avoid major pain, disappointment, not necessarily guarantee, but I can massively increase my chances of success. For me, that's a hack.
Yeah, okay, we're on the same page, no pun intended. And I hope you will consider joining us on this group program or a future one, because the thing is, anybody with a book who is not brilliantly happy or who feels they need to write their next book, it's 8 weeks, by the way, the program, not 12. So it's like, oh, you know, what about if the end of July, if that book was done and ready to go into publishing? You know, and that's more than possible. We're planning autumn launches for the current group. It's exciting. This year, 2020 vision, right?
So, absolutely. Now, I'm conscious of time and running over, but you did just mention the opportunity to have a book out by July. Now, I also know, because of your process, you don't just take on everybody, and you don't have, you can't take on 1,000 people, because it's quality, not quantity. So, you know, if you could tell us how people can get hold of you, you know, how they can get involved in one of those programs. Do they have to be based in the UK? Now with this Zoom, I'm assuming it could be anywhere in the world. Just, you know, put us in the picture then, and how can people reach out to you?
Okay, so thank you for that. Just a bit of a clarification. The book isn't going to be out as in published in July. That would be almost impossible. The idea is to write the book in 8 weeks, and then going into publishing, coming out in September, October, November. So the group programs that I run, I have run these for many, many years. I think I've done 45 programs over the time that I've been running the business. And they used to start with a 1 or 2 day event in a hotel. Well, guess what? Now we do it on Zoom, as you surmised. And it's practical and it's efficient. And because of that, because I don't have to pay the hotel, we've been able to take a look at the pricing. So this program normally, am I allowed to talk about numbers here or not?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, as long as people know how to. Yeah, absolutely. Throw it out there.
All the way through now, they'll be like, but how much?
How much? Absolutely. I mean, we'd be doing a disservice.
And £5,000 is our standard private coaching, light coaching package to work with me personally, 1-to-1. So that's, you know, that's still very affordable, and a lot of people still do that. So I'd be happy to chat with anyone who really doesn't want a group. They want me 1-to-1. The group program has always been $2,995, so $3K. So, it's different. You don't get me one-to-one, but we still used to do a 12-week with the group, with the Kickstart in the hotel. We can't do that now. So I took a look, and we had a very good year last year. And I feel really blessed. All my businesses were, the numbers were as high as they ever could be, all our hard work paying off. And I thought, how can I give back? So immediately I thought, well, we can cut the price of that group program down to $14.95, $14.95 to take part in this group. And it's 8 weeks, not 12. So it's a little less time for me. So I thought I can do that. Then I made it dollars. So it's now $1495. I mean, this is mad. We've never, ever done a full group program with me leading it in live webinars for that kind of price. And so there's no surprise. We have 23 people doing it already. And we're going to start the next cohort on the 27th of May. So that was the kind of semi-urgency of, getting together. If people didn't know about this and they found out on the 28th of May, they'd kick themselves if they want to do a book. We only have 10 places and 5 have been provisionally held because I've been having this conversation all week. I would be delighted to talk to anybody, quick chat, 20 minutes, and we can figure out if it's right for you. So how do they get hold of me?
That's the question.
Yeah, I know. So the Book Midwife, you can see the logo at the bottom over there. You can find me. My name is here, Mindy Gibbins-Klein, spell it right and you'll find me. You can find me on every bit of social media. I'm on every single platform, YouTube, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it. I can book calls in. It's very unlikely I'll be free if you just try to find me with my numbers out there. But, just find me on one of the social media platforms, send me a direct message and say, you know what, I think I want to do a book, let's chat. And because that's one of my favorite things, I'll say yes.
Excellent stuff. Mindy, thank you so much for a wealth of knowledge and answering, the random questions. And I know we didn't script this. So it's lovely to get somebody with your experience to share. And I think you've hopefully given a lot of people out there some food for thought and realize that it doesn't have to be as painful as what maybe many people have already experienced just trying to do it themselves. So, if you want that hack to get it right, Mindy is your person. So, Mindy, thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, all the links will be shared in the posts as well. So feel free to reach out and we'll be more than happy to put you in contact as well. Mindy, again, thank you so much. All the best. Thank you.